Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am, and I remain, Pastor Joe Fox. Going to talk to you today about something TJ and others have been kicking around, and how the word prepper has been maligned, taken over, and how we need to rebrand. I'm going to talk about that. But first, my day is laid out before me. I was telling a brother yesterday, I don't get bored. I want to finish painting the tool shed right there. The far side of it is only about a fourth done. And I want to get that done because it's not going to rain today. It's not going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain the next day, so it'll give it a day to dry. A full day to dry. We've been working on putting beams underneath there. I have 2 beams and one ready to go in almost. Another one, we're going to put 4 beams under it. That'll secure it from falling down, and then I will anchor it to the ground. But we really don't get that much wind here. If we did, I would have wind power generators. So got to do that. Got the wood stove going because it's getting cold here now, and I've got some more woodwork to do. Gonna work in the garden. Have to deal with the goats. We had those 3 goats I showed you recently. They were all girls. We're gonna give those to the millennial man once they're weaned. A neighbor gave us 17, 18 chickens last night, and we're gonna give those. We're splitting them. We're keeping some. We're giving Brother Roger some. You've met him here before, our camo guy. We're gonna give the millennial man some. Actually, we dropped some off at his house last night. So just sharing the wealth, right, amongst the tribe. So let's take a walk and talk, shall we? It's kind of chilly. You like my shirt? Viking Bushcraft. It's not mine. There's a YouTube channel out there called Viking Bushcraft. I'm interested in it greatly, and I thought the shirt was cool, so why not support them? See, I buy other people's shirts. Come on, dogs. All right. It's that time of year that I love, fall, and what I really like about it is the temperatures are good, and the ticks and chiggers, not the chiggers and ticks, not the chicks and tiggers. Ticks and chiggers are at bay, and it makes walking in the woods nice. And so, yeah, I've been telling you I have plans to start doing some bushcrafting videos. As I told somebody, I already know how to bushcraft. And I've even done videos on the subject. But I think the people want to see them, so I'll be doing some of those. Do something like Bushcraft Thursday or something, I don't know. Our goal is to get the inside of the house finished this season and next, fall and winter. Y'all can hold me to that. We'll see. The only thing I'm doing on that tool shed is making it so it doesn't fall down, right? So I've got to get the base in it, and I'm painting it so that it's protected from the weather. But as far as all the modifications and everything I'm gonna do, house takes priority. You gotta do that. I'm on the mend. It's amazing. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. How having a cold can just take it out of you. Like, I am walking on this. Oops, sorry, not to make you dizzy. Pretty flat, pretty easy. Excuse me. And man, that's just from my cold. I hiked down one mountain and partway up another one yesterday, And yeah, I could feel it. And then I was working a rock bar, digging some footers for the piers that I'm building for the tool shed. Yeah, I could feel it. I could feel it. All right. Back in the day, I'm talking 70s, 80s, we called it survivalism. And there were a fair number of people into survivalism. It was a result of the Cold War. And it rapidly got tied in with Soldier of Fortune, right-wing things, extreme right-wing, which was half made up. Camo-clad, commando knife-carrying mercenary type people. And it became uncool to call oneself a survivalist. And I still did. I mean, my book's called Survivalist Family, right? I didn't care. I kind of did it a little bit as a jab when I titled it. And then come into the 90s, and the word changed to prepper. And there were many discussions online about what's the difference between a survivalist and a prepper. And people came up with their own distinctions. I'm quite sure I was amongst them. And I looked at it, as I recall, at the time, as a survivalist is prepared for the long term, and a prepper is prepared, you know, for a week or so, right? And then, you know, the shows came out, Doomsday Preppers and all the other things, and they, again, maligned preppers. They made them look stupid. I have a good friend who was on Doomsday Preppers twice, and I was on it once. The first time he was on, they had called me 3 times asking me to be on the show. The first 2 times I turned them down flat. And the third time I turned them down, and they said, oh, come on, we're going to be filming in the area. Don't you know any preppers in your area? And I said, yeah, my whole church is preppers. And so I brought it to them, and my buddy said, yeah, I'll do it. And so he did it. I did a cameo on that episode. Anyway, I think that was the 2nd and 3rd season, if I recall. And smoke. Could be from my wood stove, but I don't think so. It doesn't smell good. It smells like trash. So, the 2nd season, and I don't want to get into too many details because I don't know that he wants to do it. The 2nd season he did it, which I think was the 3rd season. It was his opinion that they were trying to create failures and drama and make preppers look stupid and silly. And this man, friend of mine, is anything but silly. And he gave me several accounts of what they were doing, to the point that he said, get off my property. You're not filming anymore. And they had to have a couple meetings and you know, we're sorry, we'll do this, that, and the other thing. But they were trying to make preppers look stupid. They thought it would be good for their audience. And y'all do know, right, that reality TV isn't. It's all scripted. It's all scripted, and it's all fake. And if you think it's not, you just don't know. Wow, look at that. Where is Pastor Joe? Okay, I guess I can turn this way. Ah! What is your name? What is your unit? Yeah, let's go over here. So, they were trying to make preppers look stupid, and whereas survivalists, I think, and I'm just talking off the top of my head, I haven't planned this, whereas survivalists were made to look, made, keyword, dangerous, mentally unstable, out there man, kind of tied in with the Vietnam vets living in the Pacific Northwest forests, dangerous, right? Boar watching. That's how survivalist, the meme was kind of done. With preppers, they made them look stupid and silly, and it's ridiculous to prep. Somebody on here, one of you Vikings, I think, I'm looking for a place to perch. I guess we'll go up this way. One of you Vikings came up with what I thought was a pretty good analysis, if you will, that they, who is they? Let's just say they, that they did that on purpose with survivalists and preppers. Now I'm going to take that thought and run with it on my own. Yeah, I think there's something to that, because to the point that you're independent, to the point that you are not dependent on the system, on the powers that be, that makes you less pliable. That makes you dangerous. If you're starving to death, excuse me, not quite over it. If you're starving to death and your family's starving to death and you're willing to come line up and get your little bar-coded bracelet and check into the camp in order to get fed, that might be a good thing for the powers that be. Whereas if you're out there and you don't need nobody and you can't tell me what to do, that makes you a potential threat, right? I'll just sit over here. So, yeah, there's probably some of that. And if that's the case, and I think there's some truth in that, if that's the case, then it really doesn't matter, I think, what we rebrand survivalist prepper to, because they'll just assault that, because they don't want you a free man. I'm a free man traveling on the land. Right? I tell people when they tell me, and again, just allow me this little segue into religion. We'll come right back. Just using a personal example. Whenever I meet people who were formerly mainstream Christians who have then come to the understanding that we're called to keep Torah, just allow me that, please. I know some of you are gritting your teeth right now. I always ask them why and how that happened, and invariably they tell me, well, I started really reading my Bible without preconceived notions of what other people were trying to pump into my head. And I told them, yeah, it's a dangerous thing when you read and think for yourself. All right, we're back. Same thing with preppers and independence and being self-sustaining, not needing they to help you. And I think that threatens they, right? So the problem then is not just rebranding. We've got to rebrand because survivalist looked dangerous and anti-government, and preppers look silly and stupid. The next thing we come up with, they will go against that also. Now here's the part where I'm just thinking out loud and I'm totally ready for 180-degree out recommendations, comments. Let's discuss amongst ourselves. See, I'd really like it right now if you were sitting right there, except probably we had a little fire because it's a little chilly, and we're all just kicked back in the morning having this conversation. It would be better that way. To that end, I got an idea for something next fall. It's too late to do it this fall, but for next fall. I'm going to talk to some people about that. Anyway, to that end, maybe, because, and I guess we got to get to this, why? Who cares? Who cares what they say? Well, there are some of us, and I try to make more of us, who are trying to bring more people into the fold, more people into preparedness, into survivalism, into self-sufficiency. Why? Why do you care about those people, PJ? Well, a couple reasons why I care. I have a heart for people. I care about people. I don't want to see suffering needlessly. And let's just be pragmatic about it. If my neighbor up there has a herd of cattle and a good vegetable garden and an AR-15 or an AK and a shotgun and a year's supply of food stored up in his garage, even if he's not my friend, he's not my enemy, right? He's got his own stuff taken care of, and that's one guy I don't got to worry about, as opposed to the guy over here who's the young guy that spends all his money on guns and four-wheelers and doesn't have any food. What's he going to do when he gets hungry, right? And so the more preppers there are, we'll use that term for now, the less competition there is, and I think the less problems I personally am going to have. I would love, I tell this about people saying don't tell people to move to the Ozarks. People are going to move to the Ozarks regardless. When something goes up for sale, someone is going to buy it. I would rather that someone be someone who watches my channel, even if they don't personally like me or agree with me personally. They're probably a prepper. And if they're a prepper, that means they're not out shooting innocent people to take their food. Right? I know. But, so, that's why we want other people to come to this, and we can't say come be a prepper now because everybody knows preppers are stupid and silly. We can't say come be a survivalist now because survivalists are scary and a little weird. So how do we bring them? How do we evangelize them, right? I think instead of coming up with a new term, maybe, and again, this is the part where I'm just talking out loud and I welcome comment, maybe we grab another term that's already being used, or concept that's already being used, and plug into it. Right now, homesteading, permaculture, that kind of thing are popular, and they're looked at as generally safe. It's kind of picture, if you will, Mother Earth News. And there was another magazine, Country something, where they show people who generally have money, right? They have a good job, but sometimes mom and dad both have a good job. I'm talking the cover picture in the main article. And in all the pictures, they're wearing clean, newish jeans and shirts and, you know, hat. And then they stage the picture. So there's a basket of produce and there's a beautifully groomed goat right here. And, you know, it looks nice and clean. And they talk about enjoying the bounty that they produce. Or permaculture. You know, permies are, for the most part, middle class to upper middle class Americans who, in my opinion, shoot myself in the foot here, much like bushcrafters in America, have money and a limited amount of spare time, and so it's really a hobby. It's a fun hobby that they say is useful to them, and and they go off on it and they do it. But it's considered by the powers that be safe, a nice little interlude. They're not really doing anything. Why not plug into that? Because really we have to break down the essence of what we think is entailed in being a prepper, a survivalist, a homesteader, whatever. We can pick a different word. In the 70s, there was the Back to the Land movement where the hippies did a lot of commune stuff and did farms and stuff. That really hasn't gone away. There's still that out there. And again, the thing about Mother Earth News, and just allow me that, right? That's like a genre in my head. And the Back to the Land movement, the hippies, the people wearing patchouli with questionable personal hygiene right now that are out there growing blueberries. There's a lack of guns, right? Maybe that's part of it. If you're just some hippie, old ma and pa, living on the land, growing your vegetables, raising your goats and your Dexter cow, and you're not into guns, you're not really threatening the powers that be, because anytime they want to enact their will on you, they can. Okay. So maybe we downplay the gun aspect, the self-defense aspect. Maybe we upplay, and again, prepper's dead, right? Can't use prepper. So talking about your pantry in suburbia full of a year's worth of food makes you goofy, right? But you know what? These homesteaders out there have when they do an article on them and they show their root cellar with all their canned, you know, they've canned the jars, the canning jars of produce on a beautiful 2x shelf, and it just looks nice, and they've got like a ham hock or something hanging up in the smokehouse and stuff. That doesn't look goofy like the suburban housewife who has the half of her basement is full of food on shelves, right? It's all perception, but it's the same darn thing. If you're a real homesteader, you've got to be ready for a bad season. And so they have a lot of food. My grandma used to store a lot of food. If you're my age, I bet your grandma used to store a lot of food if she lived in the country. If she lived in the city, maybe not so much. So maybe we tap into the homesteading, and I know that's limiting, so we got to work. See, I really wish y'all were here. I really do, because somebody could just grab this right now and spin off on it. But tap into that homesteading-esque thing. Because here's the deal, most Americans, and I know I'm talking mostly to Americans, that we have some, you know, Europeans, Asians, and some South Africans watching also. Not sure if we have anybody from Central South America. But most Americans are urban. Suburban or urban. That's where most Americans live. So it just goes to figure, probably most of y'all are suburban or urban to one degree or another, which is why my heartfelt cry to come out of her, my people, and live in this, right? But if we're going to reach people, you got to reach people where they're at. And so telling somebody who lives in a townhouse, in a condo, in a cookie cutter neighborhood, that they need to come out and get a piece of land and live on it, it's probably not as effective as other means. But maybe we can tap into the homesteading thing. You know, I know I'm rambling, but I'm just kind of throwing ideas up against the wall here. You know, there's a big, again, with the permaculture and the homesteading and that kind of thing, there's a big movement to do it in your backyard. The raised beds, you can do a mini permaculture thing in your yard, you know, using permaculture principles, growing food on your own in your yard in suburbia. And there's even some stuff on, you know, doing rooftop gardens in an urban area and stuff like that. So maybe we could tap into something like that. And again, I think we would have to downplay the ARs and the, you know. Where's my knife? I wanted to pull out a knife. Oh, it's right here. And our knives, man. You know, instead of talking about how this is not a bad defensive knife because it can slice, like I'm doing here, we can talk about how this is really good for carving our feather sticks and grafting our fruit tree. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, talking out loud. I guess to get you on board with this thought process, you have to believe, like I do, that more preppers is good. The more people who are prepared for what's coming, the better it is for me and you. And so if you believe that, then it's like, all right, what do we do to facilitate more preppers? I coined a phrase, which is not to say no one else has ever used it, but I haven't heard anybody using it yet. And I have not done, I should probably do, somebody will do it watching this video, a Google search on it. But I coined a term, neo-pioneer. In other words, I didn't hear anybody use that term before I made it up for what I'm doing here. I'm kind of doing the pioneer thing in a neo way, right? I use still chainsaws when needed. I'm not just, you know, a craftsman back to the land, you know, using my crosscut saw to cut down a tree. If I got to cut down a tree, wah! But I have a two-man crosscut saw. Oh, yes, I do. Neo-pioneer. I guess I'm kind of out on that. I really wish y'all were sitting around here so we could chit-chat. Let's talk about that. These meetups, some of them are going really well. Some are starting to be a regular thing with more activities planned. And I'm behind. It's been cloudy here for the last week, And because it's been cloudy, I've really had to husband my electricity so that my refrigerator, thank you, Emmanuel, bless you, would continue to function, right? Because there's no power going into my batteries, but there's power coming out of the batteries into the fridge. And so firing up the laptop and stuff. And I've been sick, so I haven't been wanting to go out and spew my germs all over the place, but I'm back. Dang, where was I? More coffee is indicated. I know, we're going long, right? I talked about what I wanted to talk about. Well, I know, see, you're watching this, so you know what I was just talking about. And I could rewind this, but then the tape would be over and I can't edit. So, all right. Oh, yeah, the getting together. Continue to get together, but please remember, the purpose of the meetups is not the meetup. The purpose of the meetup is not the meetup. This is worth a whole video on its own, and maybe I'll come back and touch on it. I've done it once before. The purpose of the meetup is for you to meet people that you personally can kludge with and form a group, a mag, the semblance of a tribe, something like that. And I'm telling you, it will not be everybody who meets in the meetup group that you're meeting with, maybe even monthly. That's okay. Just because you don't want to form a mag with Bob and Sue, who are coming to the meetup group every day, or every week, or month, or whatever, doesn't mean they're bad people. I mean, they're probably not bad people if they're at the meetup group. It's just you're not clicking with them. Okay, they can click with some of the people at the meetup group, and you can click with some of the people at the meetup group, and now we're all little happy subgroups that now we've already started forming a network. Right? Because we know Bob and Sue and Sally and John, and they know me and Kate and, you know, Cindy and Bill. We got 2 groups going. Muy bueno. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't become passive. There are people out there who are using a lot of their personal time and emotional energy to get these meetups going. If you have one in your area, you should go. I am unhappy with myself for not going to the one in Oklahoma. It wasn't that far away. But I was sick, and my wife was coming into town from Florida, and I got a lot of excuses. Should have went. Just because it was close enough, right? So should you. But there are a lot of people who are putting a lot of effort, personal effort, into getting these meetups organized, set up, communicated so that people come, and a lot of people show up and talk. But that's not the end. When you're there talking, you need to have your little sub conversations. You need to exchange cards or emails or text or however you want to do it, and set up follow-on meetings that maybe don't entail the whole group. You know, maybe I meet some dude about my age or younger or older who, I'm just making stuff up as I go along, was in Special Forces. And so it's like, wow, we have a connection. You know, what group are you in and where did you do and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, hey, man, we should get together. Let's have a barbecue, you and me. You know, your wife, my wife, you know, well, let's do a barbecue thing. Whatever. I mean, that's my deal, right? I think barbecues are easy, right? You know, throw some meat on the grill. Everybody brings a salad or a dessert or something. We sit around. We have a couple adult beverages. If you're into that, if you're not, that's cool. You know, we just chit-chat and no drama. But you get to know people. It's like sitting around a campfire. You, personally, have to do work to help join or form your group. And remember, the meetup is not the group. The meetup is to facilitate people coming together. It's casting a net out there so that people come in so that you can fit with some of those people. And it's not a bad thing if you don't fit with everybody. We're all unique individuals. We're unique, special snowflakes. We are. All right. So my point is keep pushing because we need each other. We need each other. And this thing's going further than what I've told you about. but I can't do it for you. You have to get out there and do the work, do the hard things. All right, that's enough to talk about and chat about. I miss you guys. I'm glad to be back. I'm going to be writing up a slight tangent piece for the Warriors on up after this, probably when I take a break from painting, because it's now getting warm enough that I can slap some paint on that building. So y'all take care. I appreciate you, and I'll see you out there.